Yes, everyone, what's going on? My name is Stephen Howson. This is Full Time Devils. Make sure to subscribe if you're new around here. Don't know how you got here this early if you are, but thank you for joining us. Righty then. OIe has been talking to Gary Neville, and that's going to form the basis of most of what we're going to be talking about today. Some really interesting points that have come out in it. I don't know if any of this is major news. I mean, the outlets are going to run with it like it's major news, but there's some stuff to talk about at least in here anyway. So the main points in this one, he speaks about missing Lukaku and Sanchez. He says in the one-off games, you think we could have had a number of extra players with experience. Alexis and Roma are goal scorers and good players, but at the moment we made those decisions and they were the right decisions. I think some people may have something to say on that one. I think that he has to go with the team in his own direction, doesn't he? I think he definitely wanted way more players in than he managed to get in the first place in the summer, and I think that's why he sanctioned some of the outs. But I think one of the reasons he sanctioned a lot of the outs was because he probably thought he was going to get some ins, and they took so long to get some of the outs out the door. Some of them even passed the UK transfer window, the English transfer window. There was already in motion. This player had already been told he wasn't wanted. You might as well leave him and let him go now because that's already on the runway, ready to rock and roll, and hopefully you can bring extra players in. He does actually mention the January transfer window a little bit later. He speaks about the injuries. He says if we can get De Gea fit, hopefully it won't be too long. Get Paul back, Marshall back, Jesse back, Luke Shaw and Eric Bay back. We've had so many players out, but once we get them thick, I think we look like fit. I think we look like a strong team again. And he's absolutely right. At the minute, going into this Liverpool game on Sunday, we're missing our best goalkeeper, our best defender, our best midfielder, and our best attacker. I tell you, any team that loses all of those at once is probably going to struggle. And we was a team that did lack depth anyway. I think we could all agree who's at fault for that one. But ultimately, yeah, we lack depth, we lack quality, and when you lose all these players at the same time, you're in the shit, which is where we find ourselves right now. Should we be beating the likes of some of the teams that have beaten us already without them players? We probably should, but football's so 1% at the minute. It's so fine margins that, someone has a bad game and someone's out injured. That can be enough for a team that's probably a little bit better organised or, gets a little bit lucky with a couple of shots or a couple of chances to come in and actually do something against us. I don't think we can be as arrogant to think that we can just turn up and swat teams aside. We are not that team anymore. And arguably, I don't think we was ever really that team that could just arrogantly put runs together without having quality in the team. We've always had quality in the team. That's why we was a quality football side. When Ollie talks about getting top four, he says, we're looking at one or two new signings. We're one or two players light. One or two? What, per position? And we've said that, but the right ones, if the right ones are available in January, we might do something. If not, these players will give everything. I don't know if I'm going to read too much into this or too little into this. The fact that he wants one or two players, I think shows me that he didn't get the players he was wanting in the summer. One or two players, if it's possible to do. Do you know what? Sometimes I feel like United go and wait until the day the window opens and go, right then, what can we get? Rather than starting now. If you've identified two players that you want right now, why isn't there a list? Why isn't there... and there might be. We might just be presuming that there's nothing going on behind the scenes. But you don't get the impression that there's a lot happening behind the scenes, do you? And the fact it took us so long to pull over Harry Maguire when everyone knew about it, so long to pull over Wan-Bissaka when it was very well publicised. Yes, we got our targets in the end. Were they the first choice targets? I think Wan-Bissaka might have been. I'm not sure Harry Maguire was even. We got our targets in the end and we got those positions and we certainly strengthened and aided and improved the defence. But we did weaken the midfield and we definitely weakened the attack while doing so. I don't really have the confidence in the board at the moment that they're sitting there looking and negotiating with people right now to make sure that as soon as the window opens on the 1st of January, they go, bam, go and register that. Why can't we do it now? Why can't we have that deal all completely sewn up? Why aren't we on the phone to Real Madrid going, looks like you and Bale have fell out. How's about we take him off your hands for the end of the season? Why can't that be organised now? Why are we going to... Because here's what I guarantee happens. I guarantee the window opens, there's a rush of excitement, and fuck all happens for about 2 weeks. And then we get someone over the line, and you go, what are we doing here now? Supposedly we're looking for 2 forwards, 2 midfielders, another centre-half, which I find that hard to believe, and a left-back. Why aren't we looking at wide players, which we definitely need? Doesn't make a lot of sense. And why another left-back? That's saying Luke Shaw, they don't have the confidence in him, but it's also saying Brandon Williams, we don't have the confidence in you. Demi Mitchell, we don't have the confidence in you. If you've got someone on your hands like that, and they've just given a new contract as well to Brandon Williams, so congratulations for him on that. A 3-year extension there for him, 3 years from now, with an option for an extra year, which they always throw in. If you're giving this kid that contract now, why not say to him, mate, if Luke Shaw doesn't get back in fit and in this team, you've got 6 months to stop us spending 50 million on another fullback. Go make it yours. And for everybody saying lack of experience, we don't fucking get experience without getting experience. Give him the experience. What, are we not going to win the Champions League this year? Well, guess what? We're not. We got as much chance of winning the Champions League as we have the fucking World Cup. So give the kid some experience. Oh, is it going to affect where we finish in the league this year? Fucking doubtful, because he's definitely better than Ashley Young. And there's a good chance that by the end of the season, a lot of people will go, actually, he's better than Luke Shaw. Because he's way more adventurous and way more willing to overlap. And what he's got in those areas probably makes up for the deficiencies that he probably has in other areas. 1 or 2 players in January doesn't feel like enough. I think we need 5 to compete. And why can't you do that in January? Everybody goes, oh, it's difficult to buy in January. Why? Why is it difficult to buy in January? I thought you were Manchester United. I thought we can do things in the transfer window others can only fucking dream of. Well, go and prove it. I don't know what the record is. I did try and have a quick Google. And I was like, I wonder if anyone's ever bought half a dozen players in January before. Has that ever happened? I don't remember it ever happening. But why can't you do it? And yes, they've not had a pre-season. And yes, the settling in process might be a little bit more difficult. But quality is quality. And quality will always shine through in the end. And by the time pre-season does roll around, you're in a better position next season. Because you don't got to settle in for another 4 or 5 months then. Ollie spoke about Axel. He says, I think Axel's going to have a great career at United and so will Harry. We've also just signed Victor Lindelof on a long-term contract. So we've got centre-halves who are going to be part of the future. Axel can also play left-back. He can play defensive midfield and he'll play his share of games. Don't like hearing he can play full-back and defensive midfield, to be honest with you. He's a centre-half and I think he needs to play centre-half to get better at playing centre-half. Spoke about Marcus. He said at the moment we can't really give him a break because we've had injuries. Marshall's been out for 8 weeks now. Long time. So he's had to play loads more football than I'd have hoped. Marcus is a centre forward who can play on the left, right and a number 10. He wants to be able to play all the positions. I want him to be facing the goal. I want him to be direct and attacking quickly. So at the moment I see him coming in off the left or as part of a 2 up front. I find that interesting. They're sort of saying that he doesn't see him as that leading the line striker, and I think a lot of people would probably agree with that. He definitely has got ability, and he's probably shown his best qualities off the left, but in a 2 up front, well, we haven't seen that. Is that an inkling to where Ollie sees us going? In the big games last year, Solskjaer played a 4-4-2 diamond. Marcus was a big part of that. Sometimes partnered with Jesse Lingard, sometimes partnered with somebody else. Sanchez as someone that he frequently was partnered with, and also Lukaku towards the end of the season. Is that something he sees going forward? Because I'd be very much interested in seeing that, and I'd probably be interested in seeing that this weekend if it was something we could throw out there. But it is a bit telling that he doesn't see him as someone that's capable of leading a line on his own. Is that why we want to go for another archetype of a forward? He says Marcus' movement is great, but maybe we just need to give him a game or 2 rest. No shit, because he's been playing a lot. Sometimes because he's a young boy with a lot of expectations on his shoulders, he's played 4 or 5 seasons now, yet he's not even 22. Correct. Absolutely needs a rest. He says he's got to make a decision on Marshall. Yeah, I think everybody was thinking that. The physios and the fitness coaches are going to be letting us know what the crack is. Hopefully he's going to get in there, but I don't have any hope that any of them are going to be back, and certainly not going to be able to be back enough to have any sort of impact against Liverpool, I don't think. Talking about the Liverpool game, he says, I can't see Liverpool coming to part of the bus. It's just not in their mentality. So I can see it being a very open game, which will suit us. Fucking will it now. In other news, a couple of transfers that we've been linked with. Emre Can, apparently he's keen on a move to United, and his agent has made contact with United. Look, we need a bit of quality and a little bit of experience in the middle of the park. I think that's what's letting us down at the moment. I wouldn't be against it, but I don't think he'd be top of anyone's list. And Erling Haaland, United and City have been linked with him. This feels like proper lazy journalism. It isn't a mail, so you definitely know it is lazy journalism. He's had an absolute unbelievable start to the season. Apparently he's 33-1 to win the Golden Boy, which I find hilarious because of how good he was last season, how good he's been this season. He should be a lot shorter than that. A lot of people seem to think João Felix is going to be the one that he ends up with. But 33-1 is a bit crazy. It might be worth having a look at that. United and City linked with him. The City linked because of his dad, obviously. The United linked because of Solskjaer. Is there anything concrete in either of those? Probably fucking not. And as a 17-year-old, would you come to United? We've already got young strikers. If anything, it's an older striker, more experienced striker we need to deal with. Or he's not 17 now, is he? And would you go to City at this age? Fucking absolutely not. Because look at Phil Foden. The guy's getting about fucking 4 minutes a month. What an absolute waste of a career that could end up being. And that is it, really. That's all we've got to deal with today. Let's see what you guys are saying in the comments. Chan is young. He's not that young. Rakitic are short fixes, not the right players. Barcelona are looking at McTominay to replace Busquets. I wouldn't be so sure about that one, to be honest with you. Will suit us parking the bus and countering. I wouldn't mind us seeing counter, to be honest, but I don't see anyone with that killer ball. Without Pogba, where's that ball come from? If you look at when we was so effective on the break against teams at the early part of Solskjaer's reign, it was heavily reliant on Pogba being that creative spark. Without him, McTominay don't even play those passes on FIFA, man. So who's going to be playing that sort of stuff? Until January, give Brandon and Garner some time. I'd love to see Gomez given some time because we're going nowhere with this dross at the moment. We just need to... I think we just need to fix it up with a different formation. I think you'll see a lot out of us for that. You know what I mean? I think a midfield three would be a start. I honestly think that. It's not a big game like it used to be. The big game is next week. Of course it's still a big game. It's just because we're not as competitive as we once were. It doesn't mean this is not a big game. I would love Decore, like I said in that video. Cheers, mate. Yeah, Decore, I think, it just feels more gettable than a lot of the players out there. You know, Kante would have been ideal, wouldn't it? But is it realistic to think you're going to get him? I don't think so. Cut our losses and get Poch before we get relegated, says someone unironically. Tottenham's form's worse than United's at the moment with a far superior team. The fuck would you want to bring him in for? You don't buy in January because the price goes up and teams aren't willing to sell. They'll still come in, and people do sell in January. You just have to look around a little bit. I think United recruitment feels so lazy and reactionary. Where would the pre-planning be? You get hold of a few agents, you get hold of a few players and go, we'd like you to be part of the project. Here's what we're planning on bringing in. I think they come in January. I don't see the issue at all. Some of our best players in the last decade, really, have been players that came in the January window. In terms of Juan Mata, I think you would say has been a relative success. Obviously, Vidic and Evra were January signings. You can definitely do it. I know it's not the thing that a lot of people want to do, but it's there for the chances like this, where you go, we need to bring reinforcements in. You know, there wasn't the window at the time, but when we signed Cantona, we signed him at the very end of November, 30th of November. His debut was the 5th or 6th of December. You can buy brilliant players in the winter, and make them very effective for you in the long term. Cantona was immediate impact, totally changed that team around, and like I said, it was a December signing. We can do it. And they was our biggest rivals at the time. If we can sign Cantona from fucking Leeds, we can go and find someone in a window. Supposedly Manchester United, start fucking acting like it. 5-3-2 or 5-2-3 would be crazy with fullbacks coming up front. 3 at the back might be what Solskjaer needs to go to. Certainly in this game against Liverpool, that could be a bit of a surprise. Won't mind it. The players we have available are begging a 4-3-3. Yep. Why would you want Poch when you can have the guy that relegated Cardiff, says James. Look, he won, 2-3 titles with Mulder. Why is he not considered a guy that won titles with a team that had never won them and won one back-to-back? He's done that 3 times more than he did with getting relegated. And he didn't relegate them. Malky Mackay relegated them. He was the man that came in after Malky Mackay. He had a better points per game ratio than Malky Mackay had. But that doesn't fit everybody's agenda, does it? And also, Cardiff was always going to be someone that was always going to go up and down anyway. Sometimes that's just always going to happen. Do I work for MUTV because you are so biased? Man, you will not buy in Jan. Do you not fucking listen to a word anyone says? Do you think they'd employ anyone that speaks about the Glazers the way I do? Are you fucking drunk? It's a little bit early to be that drunk, I must say. Would defo have Dembele from Lyon? Yeah, again, that's a guy that's an absolute goal scorer, isn't he? Jacob, there's a glut of talent out there. We need a director of football or a better scouting network. Scouting network's embarrassingly large, but yes, there has to be a will to bring players in. I can't believe that Harry Maguire was the only centre-half out there we could have got and he happened to cost 80 million. Are you telling me there's not some decent players in Eastern Europe? There's not some decent players that are playing outside of the top 10 in France or Germany or Italy or somewhere like that? Because there fucking absolutely is. You've just got to go out there and find them. And you've got to go out there and do some proper scouting and some proper research. And then you've got to be able to ring them. If United phone up and try and get someone from Cagliari, they're going to get the guy. And he's not going to cost you 80 million. And the sad truth is, you can go to the bottom half of the Premier League and vastly improve Manchester United. Which means that you can also go to the bottom half of every league in Europe and find players that are going to improve Manchester United. Because some of our players belong in the bottom half of the fucking Portuguese league. That's the bottom line of it, and that's the truth of it. End of the day, is what it is, man. Right, I'm going to wrap it up. Make sure to subscribe, and we will see you in the next one. Laters.